So joining us now live from Tel Aviv is Blake Sifton, who's covering this story for CNA. Well, Blake, anticipation is really building up ahead of the hostage prisoner exchange that's really expected to begin soon. What more do you think, what more do you know about the timeline, the individuals involved in the exchanges on both sides?
Good afternoon, Ella. In terms of the identities of the living hostages being released today, they are all young men. Some of them are soldiers, and others were taken by Hamas on October 7th from communities near the Gaza border, as well as the Nova Music Festival. As you say, we expect at least the first release of hostages to begin in a little less than an hour from now. There may be multiple stages of releases today. Family members of the hostages are currently on their way to southern Israel to be ready to reunite with them. And thousands of people are now in Hostage Square here in central Tel Aviv, watching big screens, eagerly anticipating the release of the hostages. Now, in terms of how the release will work, we understand that Hamas will release the hostages to the Red Cross in Gaza. The Red Cross will bring them to Israeli forces. Israeli forces will bring them to a military base just across the border. That's where they will reunite with their families. And once that is over, they will then be taken to 3 specially designated hospitals in and around Tel Aviv for what's expected to be extensive medical treatment. Now, the deceased hostages, however, we understand that some will be released today. However, the process will likely take longer for others. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff reportedly told hostage families that it may be very difficult to locate some of the deceased hostages. And as you say, an international team may be tasked with trying to find them. Now, once today's hostages are released, the ones expected to be released today, Israel will then begin releasing the Palestinian prisoners. So that includes the 1,700 people detained in Gaza during the war, including a number of children, as well as the 250 so-called security prisoners, the prisoners serving life sentences in Israeli jails. We understand that they have been moved to 2 specially designated prisons ahead of their release and in preparation for their release. And of them, 100 will be released into the West Bank, 15 will be released into East Jerusalem, and 135 will either be released into Gaza or sent into exile abroad.
Well, President Trump is really set to arrive in Tel Aviv, meet the hostage families and address the Knesset later today. What kind of reception can we expect, Blake?
President Trump's visit will be something of a victory tour. He is wildly popular in Israel at the moment. The family members of the hostages especially have been very, very thankful to him. They were very upset that he did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. They advocated for that to happen. He's expected to arrive at 9:20 a.m. local time. He'll be met at the airport with a red carpet ceremony by Prime Minister Netanyahu as well as President Herzog. He will then go to Jerusalem to meet some of the family members of some of the hostages, and then he will address the Knesset. And when he does, he will become only the 4th American president to ever address Israel's parliament, and the first in 17 years since George W. Bush did in 2008. He'll almost certainly get a long-standing ovation. However, the reception from the far right in Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu's far-right coalition partners will certainly be cooler, because there are parts of this deal that they are very much against. And they have advocated that once Israel has received the hostages back, that if Hamas is not dismantled, they want Israel to go back to war. Now, President Trump has guaranteed that that won't happen. And he has also, in recent weeks, ordered Israel not to annex the West Bank, which is another major goal of the far right in Israel.
Well, Trump also said on Air Force One on the way to Tel Aviv that the war is over and that things are going to normalize. Is that a fair reflection of what is happening on the ground?
Certainly, the ceasefire that's currently underway is holding well on the ground, and today's events, the exchange of hostages and prisoners, is expected to move forward without issue. I should note we have been at this point twice before with two previous ceasefires, where we have a cessation of hostilities, we have hostages being released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, and a flow of aid into Gaza. However, of course, what's different this time is that this is only meant to be the first phase of a much wider and much more ambitious peace plan that both sides have agreed to in principle. But now implementing that peace plan will be a major challenge. Major negotiations still need to be held. Major obstacles need to be overcome. Of course, in addition to the release of the hostages, Israel's other major demand is that Gaza be demilitarized and Hamas be disarmed. Hamas has shown no willingness to give up all their weapons. They've said that perhaps they could give up, their offensive weapons like rockets to Egypt, but they've shown no willingness to give up their guns. And then another major issue is this transitional government of Palestinian technocrats that's meant to take over Gaza from Hamas. Who that will involve and how they'll be chosen remains to be seen. Hamas is said to want to play a role in that decision-making process. And the other major issue is Israel's full withdrawal from Gaza. Now, that's quite vague, and it's tied to the progress of this international stabilization force that's meant to enter Gaza and assist with demilitarization. But which countries will contribute to that force, when it will be assembled, and when it will be deployed still remains to be seen. So we will be watching that summit, that leader summit in Sharm el-Sheikh very closely for any announcements or commitments related to that force, whose role in ensuring security and stability and peace on the ground really is vital.
Well, thank you very much for that. Blake Sifton speaking to us and covering this story for CNA from Tel Aviv.